And away we go. Yep, so if we can put those microphones on mute, please, if you've just come in, that would be great. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming along tonight. I've done it on Zoom, so to save you all from having to travel to Netball North Harbour and Park and all that sort of stuff, we have Social Twilight on here tonight. I'm actually at the netball court, and so you might hear the hooter going in the background whilst I'm chatting away. So basically tonight's an introduction to primary netball for you all. Some of you may be returning to netball. Some of you may be brand new to netball. So this is for our year 4, 5 and 6 coaches. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to go through, and I will put that up on the website when this is done. Plus I'm recording this, and I will put that up as well so you can refer back to it, because there is a lot that I go through. So don't, yeah, you know, you may feel, oh my God, that's too much information. But if we can just put our microphones on mute, please, people, if you've just come in, that would be great. So just, yeah, don't panic. I'm just giving you a rundown on how it all works, and you can go back through everything when we get nearer the time of starting to play. I'm just going to show you 2 books here. Oh, the first thing we're going to do is, yes, I'm going to go through the general part of all of the what happens with the primary competitions. Then at the end, our year 6s can move off the Zoom call because they don't have to do rotations anymore, year 6s, if you've done them for the last 2 years. So the year 4 and 5s, I do go through the rotations for you to give you a rundown on how they work and why we do them. But these 2 books are books that you are going to get. I'm just about to order them for you all. This one's the year 6 book, and I've got to get 80 of those this year. And this is the year 4, 5 rotation book. So this is the one that's going to help you get your rotations all set in order. Now these books, I haven't ordered them yet. They'll be coming in the next week or so, and then I will be sorting them all out, and I'll put a note out to all the schools to say they're ready to be collected from here at Netball North Harbour during the holidays and that first week. And if you don't pick them up before that first game, you can get them on the first night or day that you are playing. So don't panic, but maybe somebody can come in and collect them for the whole school. But that's something you can work out with the school. There may also be, well, there will be, hopefully, some player of the day certificates and things like that for you to pick up as well, to hand out for your kids during the season. So now I'm happy for anyone to ask a question during the course of the evening, if you just want to take stuff off mute and then quickly ask the question, or you can use the chat option, and I'll go through that as well. So I'm happy to take questions. But if we just put our microphones on mute, please. I can see a couple not there. Apparently I can do it. Oh, I can mute you. Huh. Look at that. I think I can go through and mute people. But yeah, if you can just please mute yourselves so we don't have that background noise at home with dads and kids and things, or mums running around the place. All right, I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint, and we will get started. Here's my share screen. There it is.
So Mr. Robinson said it was really obvious that you were
Alrighty.
no.
Okay. Everyone can see that, hopefully? All right. So that's me, Teresa Smead. Sorry, I don't even know if I said that right at the beginning. I run all the primary here at Netball North Harbour and have been doing so for quite a few years now. So I should know it by the back of my hand, but, you know, I get things wrong too. All right. So starting off with our dates for the season. They are up on the website if you're wanting to know when you're playing and when you finish. Basically, we are starting in term 2, as we always do, but we're starting the second week of the term 2. So that's the 6th of May for the Monday teams. And the 4th of May, that Saturday, the 4th of May is when our junior netties teams start on a Saturday at Westlake Girls. Hibiscus Coast teams, you start a week later on the 15th of May. Right, that's just to allow me to get my head around everybody starting and make sure everyone's starting on the right on the right step, on the right foot. We do not play King's birthday weekend, and we do not play school holidays, and that's the Saturday before the mid-weekend. Yeah, basically those 2 weeks we don't play the game over there. We will be playing Matariki, so the Westlake teams who play on a Saturday, you will be playing that Matariki weekend. Unfortunately, if we did not have you playing that weekend, you'd have about a 4-week break, and the season would be, it's too long, and it's going to draw the season out a bit too far. So you will be playing that weekend. Our competitions. So our year 4s play on a Monday at Northcote, Saturday at Westlake, and Thursday night at Hibiscus Coast. The year 5s play Wednesday here at Northcote, Saturday morning, and Thursday. That's moved this year. Thursday are now, year 5 at Hibiscus are now playing Thursday. Year 6 is playing Wednesday here and Wednesday at Hibiscus Coast, and Saturday at Westlake. So there has been a move with those year 5s at Hibiscus Coast this year. Our round times. Okay, so typically we have 50-minute rounds. The first round for primary always starts at 4 o'clock after school if you're doing the after school games. Mondays we only have a couple of rounds, 4 o'clock and 4:50. And Wednesdays we have 4 rounds, 4, 4:50, 5:40 and 6:30. And that's the same for Hibiscus Coast, but we tend to not do that 6:30 round. But we'll see how we go because I've just put some more teams in today. And Saturdays, they start at 8:30 a.m. Now, on Saturdays, the year 4s usually play the 8:30 games, 9:20 sort of year 4, year 5, 10:10, year 4, 5, and year 6 might have some at 10:10 or 11 o'clock. So the younger ones start earlier, and the later, the older teams go later. For our other teams, for our year 4 teams and year 5s, and year 6s at Hibiscus Coast and at Netball North Harbour, that is your commitment from 4 to 6:30. Okay. Can we just put our microphones on? Might just see if I can do that. Yep. So, on a Wednesday night, the year 5s tend to play earlier, and the year 6s tend to play those later rounds. But there are some things that go on that sometimes that doesn't happen. Like the year 6s, for instance, on a Wednesday night can use the arena. We have that space. So they will have a game there at 4 o'clock. So you may have a 4 o'clock game if you're a year 6 team. We also have the lovely Waiheke Dolphins who come from Waiheke, and they have to play at 4:50 because obviously they've got to catch ferries and buses. So, if you're playing them, you may end up playing at 4:50. So there's a few things that sort of change the draw. You can't select a certain time that you want to play, but you've just got to tell parents and stuff that is the commitment for, basically. So don't do ballet or any other things on a Monday or a Wednesday night, basically, or a Thursday night. All right, so that's kind of how they go on. And at Hibiscus Coast, we have got lights. They have been fixed, so it's not going to be pitch black there anymore. So that's good news. The only difference between our games for this age level, year 4, 5, and 6, is that the year 4s do play on a lower hoop, and the year 6s play on the normal standard 3.05 meters high hoop. The year 4 and 5s also have a smaller ball, which is a size 4, and the year 6s have the normal size 5 ball that everyone plays with. So when you're at the courts, especially on a Wednesday night, just check what hoops are facing the court. You may have to get some parents, and this is also at Westlake on Saturday morning, you may have to get parents to lift the hoop around and turn it and then drop it down so that the correct height hoop is facing the game. Just be careful when you turn them around. The hoops here, they slot in, the little baby hoops slot into the back of the big hoop, and sometimes when you push the hoop up, you can push the pad up and it pushes the little baby hoop out. So we just got to be a bit careful about that. But just make sure you've got the right hoop facing the court that you're wanting to play. So that's year 6s on the big ones and everybody else on the little ones. And that's why 4 and 5s can't play in the arena, unfortunately, because we don't have the baby hoops. So we have team cards and we score games. all of this is done for year sixes on this lovely app, which you can download on your phone. It's called My Netball Manager app. You go to the App Store or to your Play Store and you can download that. The people that probably want to have this downloaded are the coaches, the managers, and who are going to be the people scoring your game. It's quite a good idea not to have the manager scoring the game. If you can get some other parents in to help scoring, that is really good. And also it's a good way to keep those parents that really want to be involved, busy on game night. So if you find this app and download it, you will also find your draws on there as well. You'll find your game times and venues, etc., as well as on our website. Once you download the app, you need to sign into it. And I've got a couple of videos. I'm not going to do the whole video, but I've got a few things to show you on how that works. So we do team cards at netball. Basically, every player is registered into a team. And we have some rules about players, which I'm going to talk about shortly. So for the year 4 and 5 teams, because you're doing rotations, you still report to the control room and you pick up a physical card, which I'm going to show you very shortly, where you write the rotations in, who's doing what on that game day. For the year 6s, you submit your team sheets into the app, all right, which I'm going to show you where you can find that information on how to do that. And you can make team changes on that app. So when a player comes off the court and another player goes on, that can be recorded on the app. And there's a reason I want you to do that too, which I'll talk about shortly. So, so that is the year 6s on the app. Okay, so that's where their team cards get submitted before the game starts. To find out all the information on the scoring app, it's on our website. You've got these You've got these tabs. It's under the draws and results, and it's called this live scoring game day app. And there's some videos which you can look at to work out how to upload the app, how to put your teams in, and then how to do the scoring. All right, so that's a good reference for you all. And I will be sending out information to the schools on how all this works as well. So this is a quick little video, which is one of the ones on the app, and it just shows you how you register. Now, when you register, you get a team code, which you will get off your school coordinator, and I haven't given that information to all the school coordinators yet, but they can get that information off the Sporty software we use, and you basically import the code into the app, and then that will come up with your game information. So it looks something like this. So if you've not registered before, you download the app and you register with your username and password there. Put that in, and then you put in a scorer code. So it's got a few pieces of information that you need to add in. I won't do the whole thing. Just even the password. Okay, so you register yourself up. And then it will ask for the scorer code, which is the thing that you get off your school coordinator, and you put that in, and then it will, once it's in, it will come up saying you're a scorer for this team, and you will get information on your phone that looks something like this. All right, and so that's basically how that works. If you already have the app and you were scoring last year, you can go to these little dots up here, the 3 little dots at the top there, and you can enter the new code for your team this year. Your old teams will still be on the app, the old games. If I believe if you go out of the system and then log back in, it may get rid of those old games, but they will disappear. But yeah, you can just you can just click on these dots and it will say add new scorer code. Okay. So but that web page, that's where that video is. Just try that. Get up to here. Okay. All right, just speed along, get off there, speed on. Oh, right. That's year sixes and year 4 and 5. You will all need to download the app if you're going to be scoring a game. So this is what the team card looks like for our year 4 and 5 teams. So this is the thing that you pick up when you go to the control room when you arrive. Okay, so we will run through this later, but that's what yours looks like. For the year sixes, there is a video, select a team, and that will show you how to put your players in before the game. So this is the game that's come up, and you've got this little button down the bottom, and it brings up all your players. You tick on the players that are going to be there on the night, and then once you've ticked and said, right, these kids are all playing, you can also select a player from another team, your school or club they're playing up for you. What the video will show you how to do that, and then what you do then is you can bring in the positions of what the players are playing. So it's your starting lineup effectively. Right, and then when you're actually playing, you can change those players. If a player changes, comes off, and another one goes on, you can just click on that and then make the change on the app when you're scoring. But again, watch those videos because that will show you how it all works. Oh, sorry. Trying to move on to the next. Right. So the reason why we want you to do these team cards and record if a player comes off the court and if a player goes back on and another player takes that position is we have a rule at Netball North Harbour and Hibiscus Coast, which is Netball North Harbour, that every player has to have at least half a game when they come down to the courts. All right, so we cannot have kids standing on the sideline for 40 minutes, or because the game's a 40-minute long game, we can't have them standing there for 30 minutes and only play 10 minutes of the game. All right, every player must have at least half a game. And over the 14 and the 12 weeks of the competition, depending on where you're playing, every player has to be played fairly. So the same player cannot be doing half a game every week. All right, so basically your strongest players cannot be on the court every week and your not so strong players on the sideline every week. All right, over the 14 and 12 weeks or whatever, every player should have roughly the same amount of time on court. Of course, there are exceptions when it comes to injuries or they've been away. That is absolutely fine, or illness or whatever. That is absolutely fine. You just write a note on your app, because when you before you submit the team score at the end of the game, which we'll show you briefly, there's a little comment box and you can put like, Susie is recovering from broken leg or something, and so she can't do full game. So you can put little comments like that, or you just email me so I know what's going on, because we do check all this stuff. All right, so every kid has to be on court for half a game at least, and over the 14 or 12 weeks, everyone has a fair time on court. Some other rules. Oh, and going back to the halftime, the halftime, when you're making substitutions, I do talk about it a bit later. The year sixes, you can make substitutions at any time, so they could be on for the first quarter and on for the last quarter. That's okay. But for year 4 and 5, we do the substitutions at halftime only, and I'll tell you why later. Anyway, we can have up to 3 boys on court at any one time if you've got boys in your team. If you've got 4 boys, only 3 on court at once. You cannot have the 2 boys playing in the circle at the same time. So that means goal attack and goal shoot together, and goal keep and goal D together. If they're in that situation there, then it's an instant loss by default. All right, but when you're doing the rotations, you just need to watch that, and we'll go through that later as well. So subs, yes, you've got, I don't know, hopefully you've got about 8 players, 9 players, 10 players is a lot. 11 players is way too many. But unfortunately, schools can only do what they can do when they have X amount of kids sign up with their team numbers. If you've got 7 players, you may need to be borrowing players from other teams on a regular basis. So who do you borrow from? You cannot borrow from a higher numbered team, okay? You can only borrow from a lower numbered team. So if you're Gulf Harbour 5-1, you can only borrow from Gulf Harbour 5-2, or if there's any year 4 teams. All right, you can year 5s can borrow year 4s, and year 6s can borrow year 5s. That is okay. We don't like year 6s borrowing year 4s, and we don't like year 5s using year 3 players because of a health and safety kind of thing, because they're playing against older kids. So if you are borrowing a player from another team, you can, if you watch that video that I just showed before, selecting a team, you can select a player from another team in your school or club and put them on the app to say that they were playing that day, and then you can put them in their positions or whatever. For the year 4 and 5 teams, on that yellow card, if you're borrowing from another team, you just need to write Susie and put T2 if she's from team 2 next to the next to her name. You can have players register during the season. So if you've only got 7 players and then about 2 weeks into the competition, a kid comes to school or some child's decided that they actually do want to play netball, you can still sign them up. We have a little bit of leeway at the beginning for the first few weeks, but after that, there is a form that you can fill in at the control rooms or at the desk at Westlake Girls, or your school can do it, and it's an additional player form, and there's a $10 fee for those kids. Usually the schools get invoiced for that, but you can add extra players. If you have kids from Kids Play, for instance, Kids Play is not part of Netball North Harbour, so those players are not registered with Netball North Harbour. If you want to use Kids Play kids in your teams, that is absolutely fine, but you will probably have to do this additional player registration form. You only have to do it once. Once an extra child is registered, they've registered for the season, so they can play again for the team if that's the case, if you need that to happen. But just remember, you can't borrow from a higher graded team, because that is also an instant loss by default during the competition games. Not so much the grading, but definitely through the competition. If you've got not many players in your team at all, and the other team, there's only 2 teams in the entire school, and the other team doesn't have that many players, there is an exemption that can be granted, but the school coordinators need to get in touch with me, and they can borrow from a higher graded team, but there's some stipulations around it, but that can be done if there's only 2 teams in the entire school or something. But the school coordinators usually talk to me about that one. So subs. So as I mentioned before, for year 4 and 5, we only make the subs at half time for a number of reasons, which I will talk about later. For year 6s, you can make substitutions at any time, like in any quarter or at half time or in the 3rd quarter break, as long as you've still got those kids having at least half a game and not just 10 minutes. All right. If you're going to make a change during the game, you can do that technically, like if you want to take a child off, but you just need to let the umpire know that we're going to take the wing attack off and put another child on in her place. Often, though, it's injuries or kids fall over and they hurt themselves and they want to come off, that is fine. Just switch them over and carry on with the game, because the clock doesn't, no stopping of the clock or anything like that. They just carry on and try and do it as quickly as possible. So all our games are 40 minutes long, 10-minute quarters. There's 1 minute between the 2 quarter breaks and 2 minutes at half time. It's not a lot of time to do team talks. So you're going to be quite organised. The timer will sound for all the quarters, but note, it is not the timer that starts and stops the game. It's the umpire's whistle. All right, so that kind of comes into play when we're talking about penalty goals or something like that. It's got nothing to do with the hooter. The hooter is just there as a timer to let teams knowing when to start and stop. At Junior Netties, Westlake, we have a hooter, an air horn thing. Year 4 and 5, you swap ends at half time only. So the goal shoots swap and the goal keeps. But for year 6s, you swap every quarter. Okay, so that's if you're going into the year 6th grade this year, that is something new for you. Every quarter for them and only half time for the year 4 and 5s. There is a time on the app. You ignore that time. We are all running off a central timer at the courts with that hooter. So you just ignore whatever it says on the app. With the rotations, and actually with all the kids in the first few weeks of the game, there's a lot of where do I go, where do I stand, centre, I was centre now, I'm winning attack, what do I do? It can take some time for the kids to get back on court. Do not fret. We have grading games for 7 weeks, and it takes, I'll talk about that a bit later, but don't worry if you're not ready. The umpires will start the game when everybody's ready and on court, because there's a few bibs and things that have to be changed around. So talking about what we do with the games, we have roughly 7 weeks of grading. Could be different at Hibiscus Coast and it could be different at Westlake. Roughly 7 weeks, 5 to 7 weeks of grading. So that's a lot of grading games. The teams start roughly kind of where the year 5s were last year, because obviously the year 6s were the year 5s and the year 4s are brand new. We don't know where they go. And hence why we have such a long time doing the grading. It just also allows the kids to settle down and learn the game and yourselves and everybody get their heads around everything. And then we go into the competition games, which tend to be end of term 2 and for the rest of term 3. The competition games, so what happens with the grading, you start off and if you win, you will tend to go up a grade, and if you lose, you may go down a grade. If I see teams with massive losses or massive wins, they may go up a couple of grades. And so that happens for 7 weeks. Towards the end of the 7 weeks, you may not move because I might just get you playing teams that I want you to play. But by the end of that 7 weeks, we've got a pretty good idea of where you're all going to sit, and then we put you into a grade for the competition games, and there you shall stay. Our grades are made up of 8 teams, and you play a round robin, and you have points, which are down here, and that's how you kind of work out who your winners are of the grade and the runners up and things like that. So with the grades though, with the grading games, I only get the draw out weekly. I cannot do it in advance because I need obviously the results of the game previous in order to know who you're playing. So I can only do the draw weekly. Try to have it out. So if you play Wednesday, I try to do all the work on the Thursday, so it's ready to sort of go on the Friday, so you know what you're doing for the following Wednesday. But in the competition round, once we know what grade you're in and you stay in that grade, I can get a few more weeks out, so you've got a more idea long term of what game times you're playing and who you're playing and all that sort of thing. If you have to default a game, that's fine, as long as you let us know by 12 p.m, please. You can let your school coordinator know and they can let us know, because it's quite good that the school coordinators are informed if you're defaulting. You cannot default at 3 o'clock. You cannot default at 4 o'clock, okay? Because your opposition team could already be on their way down here, or they could already be here, okay? We need to have that lead-in time so we can try and get hold of the opposition team and they're aware that there will be no game for them that afternoon. There is a late default notice if you do not let us know in a timely fashion that you won't be turning up. Okay, so if you do contact us at 3 or 3:30 to say you're not coming, that'll be a $50 fine going to the school. You can field, like if you get down here and you've only got 5 players, but you know some more players are on their way in the car and they're caught in traffic or something, you can start the game with 5 players. All right, you cannot start with less than 5. So after 5 minutes, if you've got 4 players that are at the courts, and after 5 minutes, you've pretty much defaulted the game. But you don't just walk away and say, we're done, we've defaulted, we're out of here. You need to go to the control room so we can verify it and make sure everybody's sorted and we've got it all knowing what's going on. But yeah, so so that's for grading and the competition games. The loss by default that I talked about before, if you field a player from a higher grade or 2 boys in the playing circle, that tends to be more for the competition games when the points are involved. But grading is not so important, but definitely for those competition games they are. So that's when we sort of tighten up on those rules in those competition games, things like that. Yeah. We don't do deferments. So deferments was something, no, oh yeah, I've got a question here on the chat, so I'm just having a look at it. Was the app just for the year 6? No, year 4 and 5 need to download the app as well, because that's how they're going to score the games. Okay, it's just the year 6s do their team cards on the app. Deferments, well, that's when a team might have had a school camp or a production or something and they couldn't be at the courts. And we used to try and organise another game that could be played at another time, but we don't do that anymore. So don't ask if you can play the game another time, because it's just too hard to organise it with people. Everyone's very busy, and yeah, so we don't do deferments. If you are going to be away during on a school camp, which the schools are telling me about now, if you're going to be away on a school camp or a production or something like that, during grading I just leave you off the draw, and then I slot those teams back in the following week. And at the competition, you just have to lose the game by default if you can't field a team. Some productions, I might be able to give you an earlier game, but that all comes through the school coordinator, not from the coaches. The school coordinators need to let us know all about that stuff. Why is that not moving on? Okay, so scoring. Yes, everyone has to download the app, year 4, 5, and 6. This is the video that you will see on the that page. See, there's 2 teams down here. Score a game. There's a button. I'll ask you to put in the team 1 centre pass. And you'll see here is the timer. All that. You've got quarter 1 written here. So what happens is you start playing. So when you start, they start the button and away you go. You can see it's counting down, ignore that. Basically, as a dual score goal, click on goal to goal tag. This message comes up and you can get rid of it. This is telling you there's an extra button. You see that that goal's been put in. Okay, so that's how it basically works. Now, down the bottom here, we've got goal, shoot, goal, attack. It's got miss, it's got shoot. Those are all for stats. If you want to keep the stats, great, but you don't have to do any of that. If you can just press goal, shoot out throughout the entire game to record the goals. You don't need to do any of this business down here. Just press the goal shoots, that will record the goals. They can delete goals, if an extra goal gets added, you can delete the goal, and if you get behind, you just put another goal in. We basically have 2 scorers, 1 from each team, doing the app together, and I'll talk about that a bit in a minute. You can see how this is in green. That means both of those scorers are in sync with the scoring. It will go red if one of them hasn't scored a goal or that they're out with their goals, or it might go red if someone scores the goal but the other person doesn't do it for a while because they're too busy chatting to me or somebody like that, and they put it in a bit later. So it's basically saying there's a discrepancy in the time that the goal was added. Don't panic. As long as the two people standing together are happy that they're both on the same page with the score. That's all we need. So basically, you just go through, you can see it just adds the goals. You don't need to do the misses that down here, these buttons. I don't know if you can see the buttons down at the bottom because that's stats. We don't do that so much for primary. You pause it when it comes to the end of the quarter. You can make your team changes. This little button here for the year sixes, you click into that. If Sally's come off and Mandy's gone on, you make those changes through that button, and then you go back and you resume scoring. You can make team changes at any time during the game whilst you're scoring. That's why you stand with your fellow scorer, because if you miss a goal whilst you're doing these team changes, you can just catch up when you've done it, go back and then add that goal in. Yeah. So I suggest you all watch those videos and line up some parents in your team that you want to be your scorers. So that the coach isn't doing it for a start. And if you've got a manager, it's okay for managers to do it, but it's quite nice if they can have somebody else do it so that they can actually manage the kids and the team and stuff. Scoring. So your score codes will come from the school. If you have the app already, just enter your new code. And you don't need to register again on the app. You can have the Scott codes for more than one team. So if you've got a child at primary and a child at intermediate and you're the scorer for both, or the coach for both, you can enter two team scoring codes. You just got to make sure that you've got the right game when you're scoring, because we've had people, and especially when I release the draw for like 6 weeks or 5 weeks towards the end of the year, you will find all your games will show up on the app. So make sure you've got the right game when you're doing your scoring, the right date. Ignore the time. Like I said, 2 scorers, 1 from each team, stand together in the centre of the court, and I'll show you where that is, to make sure the score is correct. Don't have to do the stats. And at the end, like I said before, when it says submit score, you hit the end of the game and it says submit score, they'll come up with a little comment box, and you can put any comments in there that if you've had an extra kid play for you who's not registered, and you're getting them registered basically, but you just made note that Billy played for us today, Billy James played for us or whatever. We don't need to know if the weather was nice or anything like that. It's more to do with players and anything like that. So all teams we use the app. We recommend at least 2, 3, maybe 4 people, and the parents have the app and have the score codes ready to go on their phones, just in case you get to the courts and somebody is away or they haven't turned up. You've still got somebody there that can do the scoring, or if somebody's phone goes flat, they haven't got much battery on their phone or whatever, you can have someone else use someone else's phone. Coaches and managers, you can enter your team sheet for the year sixes the day before you play the game. Okay, it's usually the coach or the manager will work out who's playing and who's doing the starting lineup, and so then the scorer can pick up her phone and she should have all that starting lineup ready to go on her phone, and she just does the scoring and makes the team changes when they happen. So you can load up who's playing if you know it well before the game. And both teams submit the score at the end of the game. However, if somebody's phone goes flat or something happens and only one team submits it, that is fine. It all comes through to us in the system. Yeah, if one of you marks up the score, you can delete goals and you can add the goals if something happens. So don't panic. Easier said than done, but don't panic. So we have these team benches, okay? Team benches, like if you're, say every year, if you're watching the Mystics or watching the Silver Ferns, you'll see that bench where they have the people taking the time and doing the scoring, and then on either side of those benches, the 2 teams sit. So this is what we kind of have here as well. So this is where the scorers stand on the team benches. So they're basically the motorway side at Netball North Harbour here. These are all our court numbers. They're basically, and here's courts 3, 4, and 5, by the way, which tend to be the warm-up courts here at Netball North Harbour. All right. This is the motorway down here. So all the team benches are pretty much on that motorway side of the courts. And then we ask all the parents who are not involved with the team, but are just spectators, to stand on the other side. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, it's to keep the parents away from you, the coaches and the managers, trying to manage the team. You should have all your subs with you on this team bench here. So if somebody comes off, you can quickly put another child on the court. If the child's standing over here with mum or dad, it's a little bit hard to locate where they are. The two scorers stand in the middle and the two teams stand on either side. Okay? We like the scorers in the middle so the umpires can find the scorecards when they need to check it, if there's something going wrong with the centre pass. And also if we come out to the courts, if there's an issue or we need to check something, we know where those scorecards are as well, and we can check what's going on too. And we know where the coaches are, and we know where the managers are. All right, so if you guys can line yourself up on either side of your scorers and have them in the middle, then everyone's all good. All right. You can also store your team bags and gear down these sides as well. That's the other reason why we ask spectators to stand on the other side, because we don't want everybody standing on one side of the court. There's just not enough room, especially when you've got two games back to back like this, and there's just not enough room between these courts. So team bags, all the gear with the coach and the manager, and the players on the sideline, and on the other side, mums and dads, and siblings and grandparents and anybody else. We do not want team bags stored at any of these end areas of any court. That's at Northcote, Westlake, and Hibiscus Coast, because there's another person or two other people involved in the game. They're called umpires, and they have to get around this back line. And if there are children or bags or anything around this back line, they get in the way of the umpires and it becomes a health and safety issue. So bags with you, other children with their parents hopefully down here, or they're off playing somewhere else. But nobody should be storing bags or practicing or warming up down these ends of courts. So that's Northcote. And Hibiscus Coast, the building's over here, and this is the football ground. Your benches are for court 1 and 2. They can be next to the fence line, but everybody else is the northern ends of the court. So the ends closest to the football ground. And at Westlake, the desk is usually located down here. This is where the toilets are and where you walk in. This is the motorway, and the benches are all the northern ends of the courts. So court 1, 2, 3, 4. So you should be having scorers and teams on this side and spectators on the other. All right. So that just makes it, and again, no bags or anything stored down the ends here because the umpires have to get around those ends of the courts. Okay. Any questions? Hold up like a small egg with your voice. Could be Wi-Fi, maybe, doing that. I don't know. Right, all players have to be in their playing uniform. If there's any exemptions to that, that comes through the school coordinator. If you've got boys in the team, they should also be in the school, like the school PE uniform, I guess. All kids need to be wearing good shoes playing netball. It's a bit of a health and safety issue. Like wearing ballet flats or school shoes is not really great. It's not great on their feet and injuries and stuff like that. If kids, we do have a shoe box here where people do put old shoes or shoes that they're passing on. So if anyone turns up without a pair of shoes, let us know. We might be able to grab some shoes out of the hat cupboard for them. No track pants, but happy with thermals. If parents are wanting to put thermals on their kids, we do find that a lot of the thermals, they want to take them off because they get so hot, but they are allowed. But we don't want kids in multicoloured thermals on the court help, with the umpires trying to work out what team's what. And on the really wet, cold days, we're quite happy for jackets or jerseys to put on. You put on the kids as long as those bibs can be seen. So if you've got the dresses with the Velcro, you might want to have another set of bibs that you can throw over the top if they want to put jerseys on. Especially for those kids playing shoot and feet that might not run around so much. We do have bibs in the control rooms and at the Westlake Girls, if you end up playing a team with similar bib colours or something like that. So we do have spare bibs that you can borrow. You borrow them, but you bring them back straight after the game, and we want 7 bibs returned, please. But yes, we do have options. If your bibs get lost or the manager gets held up with the bibs or something, you can grab some from us. So it is a rule that hair has to be tied back. And as I say, especially after the July school holidays, quite a few families like to go to places like Fiji. And then these kids come back with all these beads in their hair. So that's great, but just tie them back so that when they whip their heads around, these beads aren't whipping around and whipping into somebody else's face. The same with the plaits. If they've got big long plaits and things, if they turn in the air, sometimes they can take other kids out as well. Now, there is no jewellery. There is no taping of earrings. I should be putting something up shortly to say, do not get your ears pierced over the holidays. If you've got any parents in your team who are thinking of shouting their kid for their birthday to get their ears pierced, tell them to wait till after the netball season, because that kid will not be able to go on court. Or they have to take the earrings out, even if they're newly put in, okay? Because they can still get ripped underneath the tape. No plastic casts. We've had kids turn up wanting to play in those. No rubber wristbands or watches. So this is something the manager should be checking before these kids go onto the court. All that stuff has to come off. Necklaces, all that watches, you name it. The only thing that can be worn on court is a medical alert bracelet or a necklace, mostly bracelets, but they have to be taped. So you can get some of that clear tape and just put it around so it's not flipping around or somebody's fingers could be caught underneath it. So those are the only things you can wear. Managers, a good idea to have on the side of the sideline is a little bit of a first aid kit. I don't know if your schools provide it, but things like nail clippers in case the kids forget to cut their nails, which they always do at the beginning of the season. We have nail clippers here, and we have them at the other places too, but it's quite good to have a little bit, some of your own. Some hair ties, in case kids' hair ties break or whatever, or the umpire needs one. And plasters are always a handy thing to have. Technically, you're not allowed to play if there's blood on court. So if a player is bleeding, they're meant to come off and get the blood sorted, and then they can go back on. So if they cover the blood with some plaster, that's fine. They can go back on and wipe off any excess. But yeah, so maybe some wipes or something just as well if there is blood or anything like that. That's always quite handy too. We have a physio at Netball North Harbour at the courts, and they're downstairs, and so that is where you would go if there was an injury. They have ice. Of course, any kids who have been treated by then, they should be accompanied by an adult, because it could be an ACC form to be filled out, you don't know. Junior netties and at Hibiscus Post, we have first aiders on site, but if it was quite a serious injury, maybe like a suspected break, that would be a trip to the hospital with the doctors, obviously, but luckily at Westlake, you've got Smiles Farm Emergency, which is quite handy and close as well. But we do have the first aiders on site, and there are DFibs at Westlake and here, but I think we should get one for Hibiscus Post. We do have ice. There's ice at all venues, which is pretty much what most kids really need if they have a bump or a graze or something, and then they'll go back on the court. Now, this last one, if a player has a medical condition, this is kind of your responsibility as a team to manage that. So we're talking things like asthma, or allergies, say to bees or something, because we do have a lot of bees flying around the courts. If they have to have medication, we don't carry that here or anywhere else. So just make sure that you've got that under control, that mum doesn't take off with the EpiPen if it's needed and things like that. Kids, if they have serious medical conditions like asthma or diabetes or something like that, if they need any medical care during a game, they need to come off the court. You can't. I've seen a parent once run on with the old spacer and asthma inhaler for a child to have a few puffs while she was playing. No. Okay, the child needs to come off the court. They have to have their medication. They've got to be made sure that they're okay to go back on. The same with diabetes. I've seen a mother run on and give their child orange. No, they need to come off and get sorted and then make sure that they're okay to actually go back on board. Cancellations. Doesn't happen. Okay, we very rarely cancel netball. We've got courts, we don't have a rugby field. So the only time I will cancel, and I have about, I don't know, 4 weather apps that I'm checking throughout the day, is if it was a severe weather emergency situation and then they put out a civil, like we had when we had the Auckland floods, that sort of scenario. So that's the only time we really would cancel. If we were to cancel, we will put something up on Facebook, Instagram, website. We would email all the schools, and we don't make decisions until about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, so at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, it's raining, and we get phone calls. Is netball still on tonight? Yes, it is. We don't make that call till 1 o'clock. Okay, so please, I will put out a message that says, do not ring. Do not ring. We will eventually stop answering the phone if that's the case, because it goes mad. Check our social media, check the website if they're unsure. All right, but like I say, we don't make a decision until about 1. So some other notes for the competition. At Northcote only, this does not affect Taipacific Coast or Westlake. We have a duty roster. It's for the schools. The teams are on duty that night, and we ask for parent help to basically supervise and walk around and make sure it's mostly siblings, that they're not climbing fences or doing things that they shouldn't be, or that things are okay. But there's only 1 night per season for each school, but I will send it out to the schools soon. Making sure that everyone's aware of rules, like it's no dogs at all, things like that. We talk about stiletto heels and umbrellas, people leaning on umbrellas and wet weather with the point on the court surface. This is the same for Westlake and the same for us at Northcote. Pacific Coast is okay. The reason we don't want stilettos and these umbrella points into our courts is that our courts are actually rubberised. They've got a surface underneath that green surface that you see, and so does Westlake. And if you make a hole in that, water gets in and damages the court, and so we have to have the whole thing resurfaced, and it's not cheap. So that's why we ask for nothing sharp going into the ground. For year 6s, when you play in the arena, there is absolutely no food or drink allowed in there, only water bottles. And the same with wet umbrellas. On a wet night, we ask you leave them at the door and don't walk across the courts with them, because it will make the courts all slippery. No food on courtside during primary. So that basically, it's very hard to monitor, but it's basically referring to things like chips and hot dogs. Siblings or something taking out a punnet of chips on the side of the court, and then they get knocked over by a ball, and then we have smashed chips everywhere, which makes a real mess. So these are things that you can be telling parents, and I will put this up on we do send emails out. So our function room, it was called the function room, it's now called the Gibson room. This is upstairs here. That is open, okay? We do have that open, so teams can come upstairs and use that space if it's very wet. Because the cafe is absolutely packed. It's not really a place for people where they should be hanging out and basing themselves with their teams. But the function room is a great place to have team meetings and things like that if you want to, especially on those weekdays. At Hibiscus Coast, the rooms are open, and at Westlake you're sort of undercover anyway. They don't have a room. Like I said before, warm-up teams at Netball North Harbour, it's courts 3, 4 and 5 out the front. At Hibiscus Coast and at Westlake, I'm going to try and do the draw to allow you where there might be at least a court spare, the teams to kind of do a little bit of a warm-up if I can, and now that we've got the lights, I will be able to at Hibiscus Coast. So you just need to look for the fair courts. Usually court 1 at Westlake, and probably might be court 2 at Hibiscus Coast. So just for teams to do their warm-up. Any questions? Any more questions? Okay, yep, cool. Now, game issues. So this is the things where I'm referring to things when they're not going well, or you think there's an issue. Now, most of them tend to be around umpiring. But it could be around spectators, it could be around other coaches or managers or whatever. If you have a problem during a game, please don't come to us at the end of the game to tell us that you had a problem, because we can't do anything about it. You need to come to us during the game, preferably not 5 minutes before the end of the fourth quarter either. Come to us during the game if there's something that's not going well, and then we can come out and have a look and see what's happening. Okay? Do not approach any umpires or team officials from the other team if you're not happy with something that they're doing. That is not your business to do to talk to an umpire about their umpiring, and it's also not a good situation if you go and approach the other team official and tell them to be quiet or do whatever. If you see something going on that you don't think is appropriate or right, you come to us and we will go out and talk to them. Okay, because we've had team officials approach other team officials and then not fisticuffs, but arguments on the side of the court between adults and the kids standing there going, what the, yeah? So you come to us and we will sort it out. Umpires I'll talk about in a minute. All players, team officials and spectators are representing their school, and if any major issues happen, we often take those back to the school and say like, oh dear, this happened, and the school gets involved. So the only thing we want to be hearing on the sideline are positive and encouraging words to our young players. Now these courts are not very big, and people, adults and people on the sideline are standing quite close to these young children. So be careful about what you say, because these kids can hear everything. And even if you're talking about a child down the far end of the court, there could be a child standing right in front of you that's heard everything that you've talked about that child down the court. So that's why we say, try not say anything at all. All right? And come and talk to us. Game issues. So they do tend to be umpire related, which is what most people come to the control room about. Reminder that the people umpiring these junior games are juniors themselves, and they often will be only a year or two older than the kids that they are umpiring, so they are children. They are learning. They are not Silver Ferns umpires. They are not international qualified umpires. These are kids learning how to umpire. They will make lots of mistakes. They will not get everything right. Okay? They're learning as much as what those kids on the court are. So, particularly in those first few weeks and stuff like that. So, please be patient. I mean, if you do think that there's something pretty consistently wrong going on, then come to the control room and we will come out and have a look at those umpires and see what it is that they're doing. All right? Don't approach them. We have a lovely lady called Sharon Fraser. She looks after all our young umpires, and she is often here and often at Hibiscus and Westlake as well, helping the young umpires, and she is the one that often goes out to assist them. Okay, there have been some new rules this year. We've got a page on the website with those new rules, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So, umpires. Every team has to supply an umpire. Okay, usually the school coordinator will be helping you with that situation of finding umpires and all that sort of thing. If you're looking for umpires, you know, intermediate schools, college schools, older siblings, you know, even parents. If parents want to put up their hands and umpire, good on them. We do recommend that they do one of the courses that Sharon runs here. But yeah, if it's a young umpire, if you've got a young umpire for your team, maybe make sure that that young umpire's got a support person on the sidelines. So if that young umpire is feeling that things aren't going well and there's pressure coming from the sideline, they can turn to that support person and say, look, can you go to the control room and get someone to come out because this man keeps telling me I'm doing everything wrong or something like that. So that's quite important that they've got someone that they can actually, even if it's the manager on the team or whatever. So yeah, all coaches, players and spectators are to respect the umpire's decision. Okay, even if you don't think it's the right decision, let it go. It's only kids netball, all right? But if it's something consistently happening, send someone to the control room and we can come out and see the umpire. But don't approach them and tell them what they're doing wrong, because you could be wrong and they could be right. Okay. Yeah. So like if there's a problem, now sometimes you might turn up to the court and there are no umpires available, or your umpire hasn't turned up. So it is handy to have a whistle in your bag, coaches or managers, and one of you may even have to umpire a game. Yeah, if you get really stuck. You can have one umpire do the whole game, but you would have to pay that other umpire if your umpire didn't turn up. But otherwise you could take the whistle and umpire the game. But if you're a coach, you cannot coach the team while you're umpiring. You cannot tell the kids what to do when you're umpiring. You can coach them in the break, but not when the game is on. Preferably, you don't get yourself into that situation because it's not ideal, especially in the competition round. But it has happened, but just don't coach the team. Wait the breaks. We do have a pool of umpires. Well, we don't have a pool of umpires. We have some umpires available, but you need to contact Sharon Fraser. Usually the school coordinator will do that, or go to your school coordinator if you don't have one. If you get supplied an umpire from us, you need to pay that umpire $10. We don't get involved with any payments to the umpires. But again, we let the school coordinators know and they can kind of work that out. But yeah, if you come to the control room on a Wednesday night or a hibiscus coast and say our umpire's sick and we get one, and we've got one that we've got available, that's absolutely fine, but you need to pay that umpire $10 for umpiring a game. If your team happens to be a Year 6 team and you end up at Grade 1 at Netball North Harbour, we do something where we have a bit of a thing that happens with your umpires, but we'll talk about that if your team ends up in that position. But you basically have neutral, you won't be having your umpire if you have one. We move them around. Like I say, coaches, managers, parents not to approach any umpire. The rule book says only team captains can, but obviously primary school kids don't do that, so you go to the control room. All the rules, we play by the normal rules of netball. There are a couple of things like we don't sort of do like team management stuff and sending kids off and all that sort of thing, but in primary, the rule book is online. You can do an app with the rule book if you're unsure about some of the rules, or if you want rule clarifications, you come to the control room and we can help you. We do tend to be a bit lenient on the umpiring at the beginning of the season to allow the kids to settle in, especially things like held ball and stepping for the younger kids. But by the time we get to the competition games, they've had 7 weeks of playing, so we start tightening up on those rules. Year 6 kids who have been playing for years in sort of grade 1, 2, 3, they should be off. There shouldn't be any allowance for them. They should be not stepping or holding the ball. But yeah, we can be a little bit lenient in those first few weeks with new players, particularly. So I talk about these new rules. So what's changed in the game? If you haven't had a look, have a look on our website under the umpiring tab. and there's some videos there and some PDFs on what has changed, but just to get your heads around it, there are no more toss-ups. So if something was to happen simultaneously, like a centre pass and two players, the wing A and the wing D, catch the ball together, the ball basically goes to the team that had the ball last, so that would be the team that had centre pass effectively, so there's no more toss-ups. The goal after the whistle, so in the past the goal actually had to pass through the hoop to be counted as a goal. So if an umpire if the ball had left a player's hands, shooter's hands, and the umpire blew the whistle to end the game, if the ball had not gone through the hoop, the ball was the goal wasn't counted. But if that shot was successful, when she blows the whistle before the ball's even got to the hoop, and it's a successful shot, it will be counted. Okay, so that's a bit of a change. The short pass, they've kind of made that a little bit clearer now. So basically a short pass, you've got to have room for a defender to get in between the two players passing the ball. Okay, so this is also with that goalpost. You know how kids like to hit the goalpost and jump in and catch the ball? If the umpire deems that there's not enough room for a defender to get between the goalposts and that player, that's a short pass. Okay, so you've got to have at least room for a defender to get in and defend the ball or deflect the ball between two players. The throw-in, the change there is in the past you had to wait to make sure that all players were on court before the team could take the throw-in. So if a ball had gone to the next court and a kid had run off to get it, in the past you had to wait for that kid to come back and re-enter the court before they could throw the ball. You don't have to do that anymore. So you can throw the ball, do a throw-in before the player gets back on court. Replay ball. It's called repossession now. A player can bounce a ball and catch a ball. That is not replay or repossession. Repossession means the player has to actually have possession of the ball, then drop it or do something and catch it again. That is repossession. Okay. But yeah, have a look at the rule to make there's a bit around that. Centre pass, if it is not correct, okay, only the scorer or the umpire at primary can make that call if you think the centre pass is not correct. Okay, a manager and a coach or any other parent or any other adult cannot get involved. And there is no correction, so we don't have two centre passes in a row to make up for the fact that maybe one has been missed. All right. In the rule book, it actually says a player on court is the only person that can appeal a centre pass, but because these primary age kids, they won't even know who's got the centre pass. So in this case, we're saying only scorers and umpires can appeal if they think the centre pass is not correct. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for the new rules that will affect you guys. Have a look on our website under the umpiring tab, 2024 rule changes, and all the information's there. There's a few more rules around tactical changes and game management, but we don't do that at primary level. Okay, that's for the big kids, the big, fast people who are very serious about who wins and loses. Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, so draws. Where do you find it? Well, we talked about the app, so you find it on the app, and you can also find it on the website under that draws and results tab. This on the website will also contain results, but I do not put results up for grading games. Only the competition. Okay, so that first 7 weeks you won't see any results, so please take note of your own results if you want to know what you're doing. But you won't see what everyone else is doing. But the competition games, definitely the results will go up, and those points, there's a table that will tell you where you're coming on the results page. And I don't always get everything right. Well, we didn't when we used to enter the scores because you're entering them on the app. Everything should be taken care of automatically. But if you think that something doesn't look right, you just get in touch with us and we can see what's going on. So when you look up and know what time you're playing, what court you're playing on, let everybody know, but also as your umpire as well, okay, or where they can find the information for your team. So what happens when you come down to the courts, because there's hundreds of people at Northcote, quite a few at high visitors, and a few more at Westlake. So you should know what time your game is, you should know what court you're on, you should be here at least a good half an hour at least, you know, to make sure everybody's here and warming up and things like that. Allow yourself plenty of time to park the car if you're coming to Northcote. 4 o'clock rounds all right, but the rest of them can be a bit of a nightmare. As the manager, or if you don't have a manager, the coach or somebody should report to the control room to say, hey, we're here. Even if you're a year 16, you're not picking up anything, but it's good to know that you're actually, we know that you're at the course. The year 4 and 5 teams, you will pick up that yellow card, which we will talk about shortly. And the year 6 teams, you just need to make sure you've got your team entered in the app and that they've all been allocated their starting positions and you know who's going to replace who eventually. Make sure the nails are cut. Like I mentioned, we do have some nails here. The jewellery is off, the hair is up, and all the other wristbands and stuff are off. Make sure everyone's been to the loo, so they're not rushing to the loo 2 minutes before the game starts. And you've got some scorers ready to score the game. It's usually a manager's task, by the way. During the game, so we've got the 2 scorers standing together and that you guys are on either side of them with all your gear and your subs. If something is not going well, send someone to the control room during the game. If you have one, it's really handy to have something like a drinks tray, that all the drinks can go together in one tray. Because when you're trying to do a team talk for a minute between the breaks or whatever, you don't want kids running off to their parents looking for their drink bottles. So it's quite good to have all that stuff in one place so that the team can huddle together, they have a drink, you tell them what they need to do or change the positions or whatever, and on they go again. Now, coaches, okay, you are not allowed to walk up and down the side of the court yelling at the players, all right? Couple of reasons why. One, you're not allowed to. You don't see Nolene walking up and down the sideline yelling at the players. She does yell at the players, but she doesn't walk up and down the side of the court doing it. 2, yelling at the kids every minute to tell them what they need to do can actually confuse the kids sometimes. So just let the kids play. They will pick things up and they will work it out. And thirdly, if you're pacing up and down the side of the court, you'll be walking in front of the scorers and you could possibly be walking in front of the other team bench, annoying the hell out of everybody by walking up and down and just yelling at the kids constantly. So try and stand still and, give instruction and things like that. I do it. But yeah, you don't need to be telling them every second of the game what they need to be doing. They'll work it out. After the game, so make sure that everyone's happy with the score and they're submitted on the app. And for those year 6s, that means that your team sheet's gone in as well. The year 4 and 5 teams, you need to bring your yellow card back to the control room. You can fill out the yellow card before the game and hand it back to us before the game if you know exactly what's going to happen. And give it to us, that's fine. Sometimes those cards go home because you just put them in the bag and then you forget and you get home and you find the cards there. Don't panic. Just bring it back the next week. We keep a list of who hasn't returned the cards. So if after 5 weeks you have not returned a card, we will be going, where is it? Okay, so, or even after 3 weeks we're saying, where is it? So don't panic if you take it home 1 week. And take everything home, please. Because do you know how many drink bottles we've had in lost property? How many jerseys? How many bags full of an entire school uniform that get left at the courts? We do have a lost property area at North Harbour, and at the other 2 Hibiscus Post and Westlake, they're usually at the desk and in the control room for lost property. No guarantees that we're going to find it though. So, before the game, make sure the kids have had something to drink and eat, but having a whole pack of, thing of hot chips just before the game is probably not a good idea. But they've got plenty of snacks and water for the game. We do have water taps. The water bottles will be filled. It is a game for all. So this little picture here was taken a few years back. These are 2 year 5s. Okay, so there will be differences in height. I had an email many years ago saying they thought it was dangerous that such a tall kid could play against such a short kid. But it's just life, and that's why we do the rotations for those younger age groups too. One of the reasons why we do it. So just remember, it is a game for all. Be careful of what you teach. I'm sure we're all lovely coaches out there teaching our kids to play fair. We do have a code of conduct here at Equal Harbour, and I'm sure your schools have them too. Every year we get complaints of kids saying, "Oh, such and such swore at me on the court." We hope we don't have that happen, so kids will pay. Be careful what you portray on the sideline, is what I've talked about before. You know, kids pick up on the facial expressions, and they pick up on the body language, and they pick up on the words. I have to stop myself sometimes when I'm coaching. And another quick note there about our car parks. Of course, we talked about Equal Harbour here. It's can't swear, can I? But it's not great. It's a council car park. If you've got any complaints, send them to the council. We say, girls, if you could try and park up the top as you come into the Smiles Farm entrance next to the new Farrows, nice handy place to go to after the game. And by the main entrance, by the offices, there's a car park up the top. That's the best place to park there. The other car park between the soccer field and the courts, they like to allow leave it for the soccer field and the hockey field. So if you can use the top car park, please. And at either hopper there is plenty of parking for you guys. During the year, at the end of the year, we have a prize giving, and I have a fair play cup that I hand out. Basically, I just ask teams when they played against a team that they think were really good and showed all the aspects of fair play, and the spectators were great and all that stuff, you can nominate them for the Fair Play Cup, and they'll go into a draw for that at the end of the year, and that's across all our junior competitions. So I will remind you all about this a bit later. Some other dates to take note of: we do have a pre-season tournament coming up on Sunday, the 28th of April. All our tournaments, except for the Year 6 Field Day, are fun tournaments in terms of just letting the kids get out there and play. We don't do rotations. You don't have to have your winter team. If you are short of a few players, you can borrow players from another team or another school, whatever you need to, whatever team you like, as long as they are of the age group of the grade you're entering. You do not have to go through your school. You can enter the teams independently. Costs $85 to enter a team. Registration is open for this one now. It will close on the 20th of April. And the mid-season tournament is exactly the same. It's held during the July school holidays. The Year 6 Field Day is different. That is a school day, and schools will enter the teams. It's only Year 6 teams and nobody else. But that is a great day as well. And then we've got the end of season tournament. Again, it's just another fun tournament for more netball for the kids. And then, of course, at the end of the year, we do run spring leagues, which we couldn't do last year because of the building renovation, but we will be definitely doing it this year. But that's not till term 4, and I will send more information out about that later on as the season goes on. School holiday, forgot my A. We've got some umpiring courses going through the school holidays, and we've also got a school holiday program. If you've got anyone who's keen to umpire, we recommend they try and get in and do one of these courses. I think the first week is fully booked up. The second week there's still space available, and then a junior beginner one for Year 6s and Year 7s, but I'm not sure how full that one is. The school holiday program tomorrow, registration's closed for week 1, which is next week, on Monday, Tuesday, and then there's another 2 days in the second week. So that's always a really good thing for kids to upskill and have some fun. And we do a prize giving, but that's the end of the year, and we only have our winning and runner-up teams go to those, but again, that information comes out. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram, whichever one you like, because this is where we do post a lot of programs that come up, or information, or cancellations. It's a good way of finding out information about from the centre or the website. And remember to have some fun out there. All right? It's all about the kids and them enjoying it and having fun, and then they'll come back next year. All right. So, has anybody got any questions? Is there a training session for umpires? Only if you think your umpire needs some training, you can talk to Sharon Fraser and she can view them on the sport at the courts and give them some tips and hints along the way, or the theory classes and stuff that we do through the holidays. And is it your responsibility to inform our team umpires of, what does it say? Of team, I'll just scroll down a bit. Of the rule changes. Is it your responsibility? No. You might want to tell them they need to go look at that page on the website. The junior umpires, we've been doing some stuff here for the older umpires who do like the college games and the club games, but for junior umpires, that's a hard one. We might just be monitoring them, and if you do see someone call a toss up, let us know and we can go out and have a chat to them. But yeah, all the information is on the website. So, but Sharon is educating the young ones as we speak as to what's happening, but what sinks in could be quite a different story. 2 minutes at halftime changes and it can be carnage. Yeah, it is. Yep, and it's quite helpful to write the players' positions on their hands. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a minute with the rotations, okay? If you don't have an umpire, I suggest you go and talk to your store coordinator as the first stop, because she may already have lined, or he may have already lined some people up. Or talk to anyone like who has older kids who have played netball, or intermediate schools or colleges in your area. They may have kids who are keen to umpire primary level, because the primary is the best place for them to start, really. Well, the score coordinator's actually got score codes now, okay, but they don't know, some of them don't know how to find them, but I'm going to send some information out to them tomorrow about that, and then they'll be able to give them to you all, and then you can put them into the app for this year. Is there any other questions? Can you give, yeah, so the app's called My Netball Manager. Like I say, if you go to that page on the website, the information is there. If you are new to scoring, coaching, or managing, I recommend you look at all those 3 videos. And again, don't panic when you first start scoring. I'll be there walking around, seeing how people are going, if they need any help, and so will other people. So don't get too stressed about it. That's why we've got the grading games. Okay, that's all the learning time for everybody. Okay, so there's no more. Is there a video on rotations? Yes, there is. I'm going to do the rotations very quickly. And does the umpire have to have any qualifications? No, because they've just started umpiring, they won't have any qualifications. We do recommend, though, that any umpires try and do Sharon's classes, because that's a theory class that tells them all about the rules, and they do a little bit of practicing blowing whistles and stuff like that. It's not fair to throw a kid out there who's not done, or an adult who has not done any sort of class at all. Umpires then go on a little bit of a pathway. So the first thing that they go for is their junior badge, but they have to be out there umpiring first before they can get their junior badge. So no, they don't have to have qualifications. That year 6 grade 1 I talked about, they do, and we talk to the schools with those teams. Okay, yeah, for year 6 teams, you aren't doing rotations, correct. However, these are young kids, and they still should be moved around the court. Okay, you may kind of work out who's your fastest players usually make the best middies, and you might have a better shooter, and you might have some kids that are better defenders. However, keeping someone at goal shoot or goal keep for the entire season is a bit rough at year 6. I say that because they could be really tall at year 6. By the time they get to 14, everyone has overtaken them, and they end up being quite short. So it's not a great idea to just chuck a year 6 child into a position and leave there for the entire year, it's still good to get them to rotate around a bit and get to, well, they should know their positions because if they didn't play year 5 or year 4, they've been rotating. They will have their favourite positions as well, but they may not necessarily be the best positions for them. But just be conscious of not putting them in there for the entire season. Okay, what date for HBCN? Term 3. Term 3 or term 2? So term 3 is competition. It could be wrong on that document. I will have a look. But we usually come back that first week in term 3 of the term. We have school holidays and bang straight back into it. But I will have a look at that document. So is there any other questions? Happy for you to unmute yourself and ask. Otherwise, year 6s, you are welcome to disappear. And I'll quickly go through the rotations for our year 4 or 5 teams if they'd like to hang on. Like I say, I will put this up on the website. Thank you. That's great. Thank you very much, people, for those comments. I will put the stuff up on the website plus the recording so you can refer back to it. But if they would like to go, and our year 4 and 5s, buckle in. How do you do the rotations? We'll go through our book. Right, so why do we do these rotations? Basically, it's because of different sizes, different skill levels, all sorts of things happening with these young kids. Varying skill levels, behaviour abilities. They learn both attacking and defence skills by rotating around the court. They will learn how to shoot. Okay? And it's not, the kids aren't being put into position at a young age by what the coach thinks they should be playing. Okay? So the coach, you've got no say over these rotations. You have to do them the way that they are set out, because that means everybody is on the same page and everyone is playing by the same rules. Okay? We rotate 4 positions. They rotate quarterly. So that's 4 positions every week for every kid. And if they were doing a full game 1 week to a full game the next week, that means they get through all 7 positions in 2 weeks. The kids love it because they're not stuck in a position for the entire game, especially if they're playing goalkeeper or shoot, and the ball doesn't go down your end, and it's raining, and it's wet, and it's cold. This way they get out of there and they can run around and everybody gets more hands on the ball. Okay? So that's kind of the reason why we do them. The teams rotate in opposite directions so that they don't have the same partner every way they go. So team 1 rotates clockwise and team 2 rotates the other way. And it's all in that yellow Bible. You don't have to do anything, you just write the kids' names in there. Occasionally, the reason we do that is because kids then are not with the same partner throughout when they're moving around the courts, but they will come across the same partner a couple of times during the game. Okay, so that does happen occasionally. So, how do you know which way your team is going? And what are they doing? So we have team 1 and team 2, and you look at the draw to work out if you're team 1 or team 2. So team 1 is the team listed on the left-hand side of the draw, and team 2 is the team listed on the right-hand side of the draw. This is what our draw looks like. So in this case, Hungry Hippos is team 1, and GON is team 2. That's how you work out which rotation you're doing. If you're looking at the app, the top team is team 1 and the bottom team is team 2. All right, so that's how you work out which rotation you're doing. Then you get your book once you know what you're doing, and this is where it all starts. In your book, there is pages that look like this. Okay, that is an entire game. So it's got team 1 listed on one side and team 2 listed on the other side. Well, it says here change 1, change 2, but the book I've got, it's got team 1, team 2. And if you were team 2, in this case, what I would say to you is cross out the other side of the book so that you're not filling in the wrong side effectively. And these are the rotations all set out for you, okay? And all you have to do is write down the kids' names here as to what they're doing. So we could have Sally, and she starts at goal shoot, and then she does these other positions throughout that game. And then you've got Billy, and he starts at goal attack, and he's got these positions throughout the game. All right? So that's how it works. And everybody needs to be doing these rotations, not your own rotations, not your spreadsheet. Just do what's in the book, and then you put it on your team card. How do you work them out? And there's a few rules, these sort of help. There's another page in this book, and on this page, where it says a game for all, there's a key down the bottom here, and you will probably need to refer to that when you are doing your rotations in your book. Right, sort of at the front of the book, and there it is there. Okay, and it sort of tells you how it works. We're going to run through it very quickly now. So I did this sheet, and I'm going to put one of these sheets with the year 4 and 5 teams so that you can practice it when you pick up your books. So I get my pen, my writing's going to be really terrible. At the front of your yellow book, there is a second page in, right? This full game, half game record thing is there. So you can write down all the players' names, and I've used a 1 to say that they've had a full game or a half game. Remember, every kid has to have at least half a game. So my first week, this is what my team looked like. So all these kids had a full game. Sharon had a half game, George had a half game, and Annie was away. Okay, so I've got quite a few kids in this team, so I've decided maybe I could all stand down every week or something. First week's not a problem. You can look at the draw, you work out if you're on the left-hand side or right-hand side. I looked at the draw and I'm on the left-hand side, so I filled out in my book that crossed out team 2 on that side, and I filled out down here this. Lucy, Lynette, Gail, Peter. So Lucy started at goal shoot, Lynette started at goal attack, Gail, Peter, and so forth. George and Sharon had the half games. So you write them like this, because then I know George did goal D, goal keep, Sharon did wing D centre. As we make those changes at half time, it keeps everything so much simpler and easier. All right, so that's what happened for week 1. What happens when it comes to week 2? What do I do to make sure that these kids are going across all the different positions and stuff? So what you do, look at the draw. Okay, am I team 1 again, or am I team 2? So that little key that we had at the beginning of the book where it said a game for all, and there was that box, that's where this comes into play. So team, that one there, box down the bottom. So team 1 to team 1, or if I was team 2 and I was team 2 again the next week, I start the players on the last position they ended up in the week before. If I was going from team 1 to team 2, or team 2 to team 1, I start the players on the first position they were in from the week before. So if I looked at, so that I've looked at the draw, worked out what side I'm on. I've decided who's having the half games this week, based on the fact that over all those games, they all have to have a fair amount of time on court. So this week I've decided Lynette's going to have half a game, and Michelle's going to have half a game, and Lucy's away. So she's not here, she's absent. So all the rest of the players are going to have full games. So what I do is I go, okay, I'm team 1 to team 1. I've got to start the kids on the last position they were in the week before, but that only really applies to the kids who are going from full game to full game. All right, so Gail was full game to full game. Last week, she ended up on wing D. So that's where she starts this week. I'm just going to do a G because my writing's not so great with this pen. Okay, so she starts there, and you can see that she's gone wing A, goal D, goal keep, wing D. Yes, she repeats wing D, Then she goes centre, goal, attack, goal, shoot. That's 7 positions in 2 weeks. Seems a lot, but the kids get it. They pick it up real quick. If we were going team 1 to team 2, I would start her on the first position. So she started at wing attack, and that's where I would start her here. So then you can see she's gone wing A, goal D, goal keep, wing D, but then she goes wing A, goal shoot, goal attack, centre. Easy? So the next person I'd put in, if I was doing week team 1 to team 1, is Peter. He's having a full game for the full game. So he ended up at wing A. So I'm starting on the last position. So I put Peter in here. All right. And the other person's Vicky. She ended up at goal A. So she starts here. And that's all my full games players already in. Done. Now I looked at who had a half game last week and is having a full game this week. So that's Sharon and George. Sharon last week did wing D centre. So what I want to do is find her something that doesn't contain wing D centre. That's got wing D centre. That's got wing D centre. That doesn't have wing D centre, and neither does that. So I could put her in these 2 positions here. Look at George, he did goal D, goal keep. I don't really want to put him here. I could put him here. Don't want to put him there because goal D, goal keep. And I could put him here. It doesn't matter if he repeats one position, that's fine. So I might put Sharon here. That shares. And let's put George here. Not repeating goal D, goal keep again. Right. Annie is coming in because she was away last week. So where do I put her? And then the other 2 people I've got to put in is Michelle and Lynette. So Lynette did all these positions last week. So I've got to find somewhere where she's not kind of repeating too much of what she did last week. This one looks pretty good. I could put Lynette here, and then Michelle. No, George, he did. No, I'm putting in Michelle, and my other half gamer is Lynette. She did goal attack, goal shoot, wing A, goal D last week. I could put her maybe here. She could do goal keep, wing D. So let's put Lynette there, and half time is Michelle. She's going to do centre, goal attack, which works out quite well. I'm going to repeat these 2 positions, so that's not so good for Michelle. So maybe I put Michelle here, cross that one out, and put Lynette wing D centre. That works out really well. Yep. But if I had put Michelle down here, and I realised I've done a boo-boo because she's repeating centre, goal attack, and she did them last week, then just put an asterisk next to her name, and then you know that you can fix that up next week, and she doesn't do wing D. She finds wing D centre again. Does that make sense? You don't have to change it. Just put an asterisk and go, I'm going to move her next week. Yep. So she's not repeating those positions. But if I decided to put Michelle on here, that's even better because they're not repeating anything. And then I can slot Annie in. So if we got these guys weren't here basically, and I can slot Annie in there. It doesn't matter because Annie wasn't here. So she can do whatever. And that's how it works. A lot to say. But I have done a video. And it is on the website under the winter, under the competitions tab, primary, and there's winter rules, and there's a video on rotations. I put the link out to schools, so you can have a look. It's this basically, over it again. You will get this sheet, so you can have a wee practice as well. But don't panic. Like if you do make a mistake like I did with Michelle there, just put an asterisk and you can fix that kid the following week. What we are looking for is that the kids are not repeating the same positions week after week after week after week. All right. That's when we will go, what's going on here? Okay. They are set rotations. You can't do what you want to do with your team, okay? Because your opposition will see it and they'll be going, what the hell's going on here? I can't see what you're doing with your spreadsheets and stuff, so we can't check to see over a period of time what the kids are doing. So we ask that you follow the rotations, those are the rules, and everyone's on the same page and following the same rules. So is there any questions about that? I'll go on to the next slide, but yeah, like I say, don't stress. Don't do 6 weeks worth of these because you don't know who's going to be turning up from game to game to game. Once you know who is available to play the game, then do your rotations. Okay. The other thing we did have to check, if I can go back, was whether Peter and George are not in the goal circle together. So wing attack centre, goal D, goal attack, goal boot, goal keep, that's fine because they're at either ends of the court, and wing D, wing attack. So they're not in the goal circle together. So that's okay. But if you had 2 boys and you did the rotations and you find that they're like here, like in the circle together, goal boot, goal attack, just move one of the boys. And if that means putting out all the other, somebody else's rotations, because you're going to just move 2 kids around, that's okay as well. Just put an asterisk or write a note on the card and you'll fix it up the following week. Yeah? So when you pick up that yellow card, you basically write exactly what you've got in your book, you write it onto the card, and that's our record. And if you lose your book or you can't remember what you did the week before, we've got a record of it as well. The team cards in the control room, like I said, you pick it up and you hand it back. So this is what it looks like. So this week, this team was team 1. They defaulted the following week, and then they came back on the 20th. But I don't think they did the rotations right, because if they've gone team 1 to team 1, Pippa should have started at goal keep, and she should have started down here. Pippa's here, and it has meant that she's repeated all those positions again. Okay, so that's not correct. But we just point that out to them and hopefully they'll fix it up. Katie M did goal A, goal shoot here, and she's doing it again. Now, if I see a kid doing goal A, goal shoot every week, I'll be asking questions, or we will be, the control room will be. If you're not sure, ask the control room. They can help you. Yeah, or if I'm around, I can help as well. Some tips. So when the whistle goes at the end of the first quarter, it's carnage, as that person commented before. What is a good thing to get into the habit of practicing with your year 4 and 5 teams is that they go back to their starting positions, like the goal shoot goes back to circle, she takes off her bib or rips it off and sticks it on the ground, and then she runs to her next position, and then she picks up the bib that's on the ground left by the other player and puts it on. Or slaps it on. Yeah? So that's a good tip to do. Instead of having the kids running all over the show, parents grabbing bibs, and then trying to find the child who's playing wing attack, who's doing, So it's a good way to practice the kids getting into the rotations and changing off their bib and moving to the next position. Writing the positions on the children's arm so that they know that they're going goal shoot, wing attack, centre, wing D, or whatever it is that they're doing, and they know where they need to go. So yeah, practicing where the players go on the court. You can tell the kids, a little tip, anyone that has a G on their bib, they're allowed in the goal circle. Yeah? Little tips like that, little things you can practice over the holidays if you've got time before those first games. But if it is carnage, it's okay. Don't panic, because you won't be the only team running all around like you just shooks and stuff like that, trying to get them ready to go back on to the next quarter. If you don't start the game when the who goes, and you start 3 minutes after the who goes, that's fine. That's right. The kids pick it up. Everyone's learning. By the 4th or 5th game, everybody's pretty much knows what they're doing. If you get to the court and you're playing, you've only got 7 players or 8 players, and somebody gets injured, say in the second quarter, just take that player off, put the substitute into the position of that player of what they're meant to be doing. If the child doesn't go back because she's not going back onto the court for the third or fourth quarter, just keep your substituted player in that same position, and she'll just keep following those positions. We don't need to have that noted on the team card. That just happens, yeah. Even if it's not positions that the substitute was going to do, just keep them going in the same positions. If you come to the courts and you've only got 6 players, people ask, what position do I not play? Most people would say don't play without a wing D. Some people go, why would you take the wing D off? Why would you not take the wing A off? Because you've got a centre and a goal attack, and it's got shoot, right? That can do the attack. Although if you take the wing D off, you've only got a goal D and a goal kick, you can do most of the defence. So anyway, up to you. But if you have 6 players, you just jump that position in your rotations. So if there's no wing D, no one plays that position, and they just go on to the next position. All right? Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that? So yeah, everything's in here. I'll send links out for the rotation video. You'll pick up that piece of sheet if you want to have a bit of a play. Yeah, and don't stress with them, but don't do, like I say, a whole spreadsheet for the year, because it won't do you any good. And I'll say that you need to follow this. Just don't do, week by week by week. You don't know who's going to be away, who's going to be sick, things like that. If you have, here's another one, if you have 11 players, 10 players even, if you have 10 players, that's 3 kids standing on the sideline. That's 6 kids having half a game every week. You may opt to have a kid stand down every week if you have that many players. And when I say stand down, don't come to the courts effectively. They have a week off. But that is something you would need to discuss with your school and your parents to see if that works for everybody. Because it just explains to them, 10 kids is 3 kids on the sideline, 6 kids having half a game every week. Okay? And then you've got your record in this box, so you can work out how, when they have their weeks off. Same if you've got 11 players. Again, there's a lot of players on the sideline and a lot of team changes. So, up to you, but that is an option. Questions? Any other questions? I'm just going to take, where is it? Take the share off. Oh, there it is. All right, I'm back. Okay, chats. Is there any questions on the rotations? It's a lot to take in, I know. But yeah, have a practice. So, any questions? Anybody got anything? You can take thing off mute. Is there a combined year 3, 4 team playing in year 4 grade? Yes, so there are combined teams in every grade. There's year 5 and 6 teams that are playing in the year 6 grade, there's year 4 and 5 in the year 5 grade, and there's year 3 and 4 in the year 4 grade. Can a year 3 player play down? Do you mean play down to year 3? Yes, because year 3 is not a competition. Year 4 and 5 and 6 are competitions, so that's when we get strict on who can play where and what. When you get the yellow book, you can pick this up. I'm going to let everybody know when I've got them in, because they get printed, and hopefully they'll be available during the school holidays to be picked up here at Netball North Harbour if you're driving past. Or if you don't get them before the season starts, we will have them in the control room. So you report to the control room and you can pick up your card on the night. Okay, otherwise come to Netball North Harbour during the holidays, and we've got a week, don't forget we've got a whole week before we start playing where you can pick them up in term 2. Okay, there's 1 book per team, not 2 books per team, only 1 book per team, so you might want to decide if it's the coach or the manager that holds on to it. Depends on who wants to do the rotations and make sure that they're being followed. Yeah. Any other questions? No? All good? That's it. A lot to take in, I know, but this recording will be on the website as well as this PowerPoint that I put up. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining. See you at the courts. And I'm going to stop the recording.